I am a champion. Chosen by the clan to go west, to search out and destroy the server. It has been this way for 100 years now, since the Great Cleansing. The clan will vote for a champion on the last day of harvest. On the following morning, the Chosen starts west, toward the epicenter. Every year since the cleansing, we send our best men to defeat the server, yet none return, and the lights in the west continue to glow. The server remains functional, and as long as it does, we will try and destroy it, as it destroyed us.
It is a great honor to be chosen Harvest Champion, Olin. Your father was a champion many years ago, as was his brother. Both my sons went west, and now my grandson. It is truly an honor for our family. I know the clan has given you the supplies you will need, but I want to give you this. It does me no good anymore, but you may find a use for it.
Thank you, Grandfather. I hope I don't have to use it, but no one has ever come back, and they too have had guns.
Many men have traveled west.
My grandfather gave me the shotgun that his father had given him. It was a final gesture of love and protection, and hope. I headed west the next morning, following the path of past champions worn deep into the ground, forcing my steps away from everything I knew, away from everything I had known to be safe. The long walk towards everything I was taught to avoid, the wastes, cities, and the machines that roamed them. That night, I camped in Enland, the edge of the forest the clan marks as the border between our land and the dangers beyond. Giants of a past civilization marked the border, giants whose cables stretched from Enland to the wastes and beyond. I had never stepped beyond this border. The only ones who had were champions themselves. Now, it was my turn. My time. I chose not to document my first night. I'm sure future champions would understand. What was there to write of anyway? Fear? Sadness? The unknown? We were told to document our journey, as reference for future champions. But this first night cannot be so different than those of the past. We will all have sat on the edge of Enland, staring up at the giants, pondering our destiny. And that was for us, and us alone. Tonight was the last night of who we were. Tomorrow was for who we will become. At the end of the path of the giants west, I came to the edge of the wastes. The air was thick with death, thick with the stench and particles of chemical weapons used by the server in the cleansing. This was the edge of the server's land, the outermost border of its territory, chemically treated in order to ward off life, and to dissuade man by killing him slowly, if he was to spend time trying to cross it. I had yet to find any journals, so I had no idea how large the wastes really were, or if anyone had ever survived them. I wrote a quick note regarding this, along with a timeline of how long I had been traveling until this point. I placed it in a container and left it for the next champion to come along. I pulled my mask out of my pack, put it on, and stepped forth into the stench. There was nothing in the wastes. I thought at least that there would be remnants, artifacts from the past, but there was only the nothing. Whatever once had been was evaporated, turned to dust, and it went on for countless miles. The wastes eventually gave way to what was left of the past. It was unsettling that these places once filled with life were now void of any. The impact of the server and the cleansing was now all around me, and only going to get worse as I continued west. I was taught as a child about the cleansing, how the machine created to save us had destroyed us, and how only the epicenter was spared, along with its inhabitants. The inhabitants of the epicenter were a group of humans that were taken from their homes to maintain the server. They were taken because of their skills, their trades, and forced to serve the server directly. They were called technicians. Do they still exist? I don't know. I was also taught that after the forest ends, the wastes begin. It seems that much of my teachings as a child were correct, but no one had ever returned from the wastes to tell of what lay beyond, and so far, I have not found any journals or containers left by my predecessors. The next day, I did. I left the dwelling that I camped in early the next morning. I walked along the hard road and hoped that what I saw today would not be so sad and desolate. But I knew that just wouldn't be the case. Once I got to the edge of the village, at the end of the hard-packed road used by auto vehicles of long ago, I found my first container. And my first warning. At least I finally had some sort of sign that a champion had made it, and had been preparing for someone's arrival. Although, there was no indication of how long these notes had been placed along the path west. It could be from last year, or even decades ago. There was no way to tell. I soon came upon the epicenter. It was as desolate as the villages on its outskirts, with no sign of life, no signs of the technicians. There were no sounds except my own footsteps, and the low hum of the current that still flowed through this dead city. If there was still current, then that meant there were still machines. The written warnings left by my fellow champion now made more sense. The machines were watching me, and that probably meant that they already knew I was here. I heard the rumbling in the machine. I turned to look at the monster and stood in awe. I stood frozen, unable to move, not by fear but by the immense unknown of the thing. I tried to focus on the machine, hoping for some sort of understanding for what it was, but I couldn't. I tried to turn and run, but my body wouldn't move. Then, I was pulled away.
We need to go! Now! Little Olin Rain. Oh, the gods truly have a sense of humor.
Argus? Argus Emmett?
I'm sorry, Olin. I just figured I was the last champion. And now Olin Rain has come to aid me in the ever-long quest to defeat the server.
Argus, how long have you been in the epicenter? 3 years?
Just about.
So there have been no other champions in all that time?
Well, I have only seen 2, and both never made it past the Mecca. I'm glad to see you, Olin. Now we can finally kill that damned machine.
Argus showed me his plan. The Mecca ran a patrol around the entrance of the rail, a motorized machine once used to move hundreds of technicians a day back and forth to the server complex. Argus had waited years for another champion to make it this far. He needed 2 people working as a team to get past the mecha. And finally, a second champion had come along. He explained how he had managed to get several of the autos actually working, but eventually they all failed and would not work anymore. His plan was to use one of the autos to distract the mecha, and then attack it from behind.
I've saved up enough black powder for one last explosive device, but we'll have only one chance to get it right. You pilot the auto as a distraction, and I'll attack the mecha from behind. I don't even know why they ever call them autos. It still requires a pilot.
Argus taught me how to pilot the auto. It was simple enough to pilot safely in circles, but evading a mecha would prove to be more difficult. How will we know when the mecha has started to follow us?
Left! Left!
Is that the rail?
Yes, left! Left!
We going in a circle?
That's why we practice it. Left! Have you learned the path?
Yes.
Good.
Come on. Son of a...
Three years, Olin. Yes! Come on, let's go.
Welcome to the epicenter station.
How do you know that the rail will take us to the complex?
I don't really. I just know that every 42 minutes it ports here and then leaves again. It should be here shortly.
The epicenter station. 女士们、先生们，欢迎您来到 epicenter.
The rail arrived shortly after we made our journal entries. There was no sound other than that of an eerie hum. Like everything else in the epicenter, it used the current.
The trip to the server complex will take approximately 19 minutes. Please make yourself comfortable.
19 minutes?
Thank you for
Do you think that's true?
That's what I expected. I had timed the rail at 42 minutes. 19 minutes for both directions. Time to board on and off. 19 minutes should be right.
We detail what the voice had said in case we fail, and the rail's voice was to fade in time. 19 minutes was a long time to sit waiting, unknowing how much longer you'd be trapped within this machine. After 19 minutes, we arrived at the complex station.
Exit from the right side of the rail. North Central Positronics would like to wish you a safe.
We must be in the lower level. Let's take a look around, and keep your eyes open for a map.
And technicians.
Let's hope they're all dead by now. Olin, we are being followed. In the city, I got used to hearing only one set of footsteps. Then 2, including yours. There is now a third, and they're coming from 2 floors below.
Well, what do we do?
We catch him. He'll know where the server is. Boom! Where is it? Where is the server? Are there more of you? More technicians?
Argus, he can't talk!
I serve the server as the server serves me.
We're gonna have to kill this fool.
Can't we just tie him up or something?
Olin!
Argus! Gods, no. I'm alone. Again. As I reached the 5th floor, the hum was louder, obviously emanating from what was behind the only door on the top level of this complex. The only light in the room was coming from the server itself. It was cold, and the hum of the current almost deafening. All these years, and all this death and destruction, all caused by this defenseless machine in front of me. We are taught from the time we are very young the foolish lesson of allowing a machine to control our destiny. For centuries, humans have consistently allowed themselves to fall into the trap of following an ideological machine. Then, our civilization found itself literally following a machine, a computer, a culmination of religion and government presented to people as the answer. Yet again, the ideology of the ruling class had been our demise. Since the cleansing, we have fought to regain our humanity and be released from this coded theology that humans are their own worst enemies. That may be true, but let us decide. Give us the liberty to forge our own destinies. I am a champion.